All right. Hi, everybody. At this point, you should have already submitted your pitch and already have feedback on your pitch from me in the grade section of Folio. This is the thing that you are going to be researching for the rest of the semester. Now, some of you I have locked down your topic already and you know exactly what you're going to be studying. Some of you have asked to get in contact with me over email and let's figure out maybe ways to either expand or for the most part usually rein in and make smaller your historical topic in mass media. So one of the things I wanted to kick off here in our lectures about how to actually perform some of the research is some of the tools that I've already uploaded to the Folio section that'll be useful for you as you set out to research or begin some of your research work. Okay, so first of all, let me just point out that on the Folio site, you got this section over here called Research Paper Toolbox. That is what we're going to be looking at in this video. And this is stuff that I have loaded up with links to outside places and documents that I think will be very helpful for you as you sit down to do some of this work. So first of all, let's look at the organization strategy document. The organization strategy document is a way of thinking about how to order your research in your overall study. So the main paper needs to have these sections. It needs to have an introduction, it needs to have a main body, it needs to have a conclusion, and that's really it. Unlike your other research papers that you may do in other classes like mass comm theory, which are very clearly structured in terms of needing a lit review and needing results and needing a discussion and conclusion section that are separate, a historical analysis paper only really uses at this level 3 sections. The introduction, which is 1 to 3 pages, and I've got some guidance over how to think about what an introduction is. But an introduction is you explaining what your historical topic is, but also why it's important. That's a really big important part of this, is that the introduction justifies why people can learn about things that have impacted mass communication, things that have changed the world of mass communication, things that can tell us about where we come from in terms of mass communication. Why that matters. That is your argument to why your specific topic is an important one. The main body of it, the intro, by the way, we're looking at about 1 to 3 pages. So it's the first 1 to 3 pages. The main body, which is going to be where you're going to talk about your research findings. It's the information that you find as you are digging up sources. You're looking at past research, you're looking at books, you're looking at videos that may have interviews with some of the people involved in your topic if it's more of a modern topic. That's going to be 8 to 10 pages. That's your analysis. That is you writing and explaining where you see all of this or what you have found in your investigations. You're connecting and synthesizing different points that you find together. Now, if that's the part that stresses you out the most, don't worry, we're going to have a video that is solely just about that coming up here soon. And then finally, the conclusion, which is 1 to 2 pages. And this is where you are explaining what it means, right? I'm asking you to include what we call reasoned judgment, which is the notion that you can connect the narrative together in a way that will not just summarize entirely what you found, but will give us an answer to what you found. So if the thing that you pitched was like if I was talking about the research I do, it would be, the question could be, the intro would be, how did NASA, or how did the popular news media cover Project Gemini in NASA, which was a project in the 60s that came between Mercury and Apollo? The findings, that 8 to 10, that middle bit of the paper, would explore the different missions and how many different news stories there were and what those news stories talked about. And then the conclusion at the end would summarize in 1 to 2 pages by saying that while the steps, or while the things that NASA got into the news coverage with Project Gemini were great, the stuff that news tended to pick up on were stuff that had to do with the eventual Apollo program and not really any of their own scientific explorations and experiments, which is kind of a bummer. So it's bringing it all together into what new element through historical analysis that you found. Okay, so this is the organizational strategy. This is how to structure your paper, what I'm looking at there. So let's go back to the research paper toolbox. Okay, the next thing we've got is a PDF document that looks at historical writing style and usage. This is as it loads, a document that explains roughly how things should sound. Um, I would read through this the best that you can, and you don't have to sit and make notes on it, but you should definitely pay attention to some of the clear rules about the structure and style of historical writing, such as when certain tenses are used, not using contractions, avoiding slang, cliches, or jargon. And I'll add a little asterisk to that, which is if you're writing about a specialized topic and reporters keep using a form of jargon, don't just use that jargon. Explain to the reader, who is me, explain what that jargon means. So this is a document that'll explain some of the historical style stuff, which will be useful just for the writing of it. This has less to do for the research and more to do for the sitting down and actually typing the thing out. Let's go back to the toolbox. So this right here, history paper template. One of the biggest things that students struggle with when they're having to do this kind of research is the template style, or the actually formatting it all together in a document. And so I have decided to make it as easy on you as I possibly can. So I have this document here, and if you go ahead and click the download button, and then it loads up over here, but I think if I just click and drag it, once it loads over to the, wait for it. Aha! Hopefully this is showing up where it's supposed to show up. Okay, what this is an APA document that is perfectly formatted, and all you have to do is just drop in your information. So this is a Word document. If you need to convert it to another format, there are a lot of useful tools on the internet for that. But this is where you will put your title of your paper. You get to creatively come up with as cool of a title as you want, where your name goes. I've already populated this part, so you don't have to mess with that part. Here's where you put your abstract, which is when you're completely done with the paper. This is where in about 150 to 250 words, you sum up what you found. And then down here, I have made it so that when you type the title of your paper in here, it will automatically populate it down here. So you don't have to mess with that. You will start your research by typing in the introduction here. And then you will put, like, change this to findings. And you can say this study found that ... and then if you want to put a discussion and conclusion in, then all you have to do is click heading 1 and say discussion and conclusion, hit enter, and it's back to being formatted exactly in Times New Roman and in the exact same font size and format you need. So that is how you add a heading, by the way, is heading 1. This is set up as a heading 1 as well, and you don't need a heading for introduction because the introduction is designed to introduce. It's already got page numbers there for you. At some point you will need to double click this, shortened title up to 50 characters, and drop that in. That's just a shortened version of the title of your paper, and when you put this here, it will automatically put it everywhere it needs to be the rest of the paper. And then last but certainly not least is your reference page. Here you've got these already set up here. Following APA formatting for a reference section, you will put all of the stuff that has in-text citations in the body of the paper. You will list all of those here under references on your document. And there are rules about the references that you'll need to have in the instructions to the final paper, which are in the research portion of the folio. But I just figured instead of you all having to fuss around with making sure your Word document is as it needs to be, because that ultimately we're not trying to teach you how to use Word correctly, we're trying to teach you how to research history correctly, just use this template. It's fast and easy, and I don't want to make any changes saved there. So let's go back to the toolbox. Okay, now the next thing that I have uploaded for you all is a cheat sheet for APA style. Now this is a little weird. Normally, if you were to write a history paper in another department, if you were to look at some of the history journals that you may be finding as you were looking up sources and information for your research for your studies that way, you'll notice that almost all historical research is done in Chicago style, which uses a process of footnotes at the bottom of each page. However, our whole department is based on APA format, which is a different format. So in order to make sure everything is consistent through the whole department, we are going to ask that you write your paper in APA, even though APA isn't as common for history. You may not necessarily care about why I just told you that, but you know, it's nice to know these things. So APA citation cheat sheet, I've uploaded this. This will teach you or sort of help you work through the process of adding your citations to the end of the paper using the reference list section. And then the cheat sheet that will help also, I think, a little bit with how to format stuff like quotations and paraphrases, that kind of thing. There's two big parts of APA style and formatting with citations that you really need to know that I'm going to be a really picky person on. One is the in-text citations. That is any time at all that you're referencing anything that you have found in your research, any piece of document, any old news article, any scientific study or historical study, any book, any YouTube video that's an interview with an author, anything at all, you need to follow in-text citation rules so that the person reading the paper, which is me, when I'm reading it and I see this bit of information, I see afterwards exactly who wrote this so that I see where you're getting it from. Not using enough in-text citations, especially in a history paper, is one, a bad habit because it's kind of stealing in a way, not great. But two, the whole point of this is that I'm looking to see that you can find other pieces of sources information and synthesize other people's thoughts together into your thought, what you find. If you're not showing me where you got the information, you're cheating yourself out of points. So if you have the choice between oversight and undercite, or citing too much or citing too little, always take citing too much. That'll always help you out. So this is just a quick cheat sheet of how to format things, particularly your citations in APA. Now there's a ton more resources out there for APA formatting. I actually suggested I think in the syllabus, if you haven't already, get yourself an APA formatting book. They are dirt cheap on Amazon and places where it sell used textbooks because they have been making the same manual for quite some time now, and tons of college courses around the country mandate it. So there's tons and tons of cheap copies out there. Now, let's say you are not really necessarily good at APA and you don't necessarily like following this whole cheat sheet thing. I did link another website here, which is called Citation Machine. And I put in parentheses after the link that it's annoying, but is a good tool. I have used this for years and years and years. And for some reason, it seems like every single time I open it new, there's some new ad they have put on it. It is a free service, but it's free because they shovel ads at you. Like, here we go. Oh, it takes forever to load now because of how many advertisements and videos they have added to this thing. Oh, look, there's stuff trying to load over here. It makes it all so slow. Go away. Anyway, this is a thing where you can drop in the title, keyword, or DOI number to any piece of research, and it will spit out a properly cited, properly formatted. There's some folks eating Sonic up here. It will spit out the properly formatted version of the in-text and reference section citation that you'll need. Oh, there's some Xfinity ads that have popped in. Again, you can change this, by the way, to do books, to do YouTube videos, to do stuff taken from social media. You can change it however you want. And you can also just enter stuff manually, and it will do it that way, which is kind of nice. Again, this used to be way easier to use. It's still somewhat easy to use. It's just they've rammed so many advertisements in it that it's just very slow and unwieldy now. But it can be useful for helping make a properly formatted bibliography. I added a link. I won't necessarily click on it now because you don't need it as much, but I did toss a link to the journalism history journal. I'll click on it anyway. Website. This is for finding ideas, as well as whatever topic you are researching, whether it's, I have some folks researching 9/11, so researching things having to do with the Vietnam War, having research having to do with representation of minorities in media of all different kinds. It might be not a half bad idea to just browse the history journal archives just for a bit. Now, you don't have to go month by month forever back. They do have a search box somewhere on this site. And you can also email the editor, and that can ask if they have anything that's on this particular topic. But journalism history is one of the larger journalism mass comm history journals out there. And it might be useful to just search them first to see if you can find anything that is useful for you. And now, the last two things that I have posted to the Research Toolbox is two previous examples of really good papers. So I went back to the last time that this was taught online over the summer, which was 2 summers ago. I wasn't the one teaching it, but I was talking to the professor who did teach it. And I asked them to send me, without names on them, so I don't know who wrote them, but send me 2 really good, the highest grade papers that they received that semester. I took those, I read through them, made sure there was no identifying information, so you shouldn't be able to find out which author who wrote any of these. But there's example 1 and example 2, and both of them are examples of A quality papers. So if you are still a little lost as to exactly how a research paper should sound, reading through these should help you out a little bit, because you can learn, okay, here's how you should phrase things, and here's how you transition from one topic to another, and here's how you can build out and explain the narrative. Here's what a good intro sounds like. Here's what a good conclusion sounds like. So hopefully these things in the Research Toolbox should be useful at getting you going. At the very least, I would say go ahead and start a template that you can just start adding stuff to. And I will follow this up with a couple more videos that should come out either today or tomorrow, which should be Friday, the 3rd of July, that'll talk about the actual research process and as well as the writing process. So with that, thank you all for getting your pitches in for the topic idea. That was awesome. You all have some wonderful, wonderful ideas, and I super look forward to helping guide you to a completed research paper that has to do with mass comm history. All right, see you next time.